Good time of day to all of you, my friends here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Yermolinsky, and I'm happy to be here to talk about round 8 of the Sinquefield Cup. The round is coming to its conclusion. I haven't checked in the last 2 minutes. Is Karyakin still winning against Wesley So? You guys tell me. But for now, I would like to use an opportunity to talk about this tournament that's kind of coming to its end anyway, only one round left. And no, let's look at the cross table. See what we have here. Alright, current standings. We have one question mark. That's the game between Karyakin and So. That I assume is gonna end in Karyakin's victory, which will put him up at 4.5 points in a tie with Magnus Carlsen for 4th and 5th places. But the 3 leaders are still gonna be there. That's Anand, Vasheva Graf and Aronian. No, they're half a point ahead of Magnus Carlsen. Magnus, of course, he'll have his chance face to face against Levon with the white pieces. Well, yeah. But anyway, right? We can hardly expect both Anand and MVL to lose. Anand is gonna be playing Wesley. Well, I don't know, black pieces, but still. Wesley's not having a good tournament, not at all. And if the result that we expect stands, he's gonna be dead last. You know, coming to that last round. Oh well. Anyway, MVL versus Nepomniachtchi. I think Vasheva Graf's gonna have white. He's probably gonna try to win. Obviously, Nepomniachtchi is a dangerous player. But we'll talk about him a little bit today. But he is just playing, except for some nice stretch in the middle of the tournament, he's playing a bad tournament. Bad start, 2 losses, and no, not really a very impressive finish. So anyway, looking at all these things, I'm thinking, okay, even if Carlsen wins, which is a tall order, well, I'll talk about Levon. I believe that Levon, even if he's in a tie for first place, he played the best among the 10 players here in this tournament. But suppose Magnus pulls it together the way he always had in the past, wins that principal, critical game and finishes ahead of Aronian, still probably he's not gonna get more than a first place tie. So, should we chalk it in as another failure of Magnus Carlsen to win a major tournament? Well, that's the 3rd tournament this year, right? We started with Norway chess. Aronian won it. No, actually it started, what was the tournament they played? The Granke Classic, yeah, in Germany. So Aronian won it, and then Aronian also won Norway chess. Actually, if anybody was dominating classical chess, no, that's Levon Aronian. He gained a lot of rating points and got back to 2nd position in world's rankings, in live ratings, of course. No, I mean, he was there for a long time. He was there with his 28-30 something, while Magnus was 28-80. Okay, things are different now. I mean, maybe Levon is still not where he was. He's around 28 something, 28 or 9. But Magnus is nowhere near. I mean, it's 28, 25 maybe. So, alright, anyway, it would be interesting to see the last round game. About other players, of course, a lot of talk about the unimpressive performance by American players. Neither Caruana, who's at 50%, nor obviously Nakamura, -2, and no wins to his credit. And Wesley So also at -2 and now about to go -3 dead last. So what's up with these guys? Is home field not helping them? I don't know, I would like to hear your opinion. Of course, Moving Dutchman tells me it's not failure on part of Magnus Carlsen. Indeed, he's over there, he's in the mix. He is still ranked #1 in rating list, and I believe he doesn't really have to win these tournaments to prove time and again that he's #1 in the world. He's a world champion. I think even if he somehow has a bad tournament or two and loses his leading position in the rating list, it still wouldn't matter to me that much. World champion is world champion. Well, we have the system of world championship qualification culminating in a world championship match, and until the guy is defeated in it, like everything else is rather not important. Aronin was great at Granca Norway, played Laos into. He won't make it to the candidates, certainly not from Grand Prix. Yeah, he's out of that mathematically. Well, he's a chronic choker when it comes to World Championship cycle. Yeah, maybe I would have a different choice of words, but I basically agree with you. I mean, the track record is horrendous. Levon Aronian played 3 candidates tournament. London 2013, Khanty-Mansiysk 14 and Moscow in 2016, and it's like in all 3 tournaments he was in a share of lead halfway through after the first leg of the tournament. Tanked all 3 times, finished nowhere near. I mean nowhere near. Like finished at maybe at 50% ultimately, in all these tournaments. Simply could not hold his nerve in this situation. But anyway, alright. There will be time to speculate about this. Now, today's show is going to be a little shorter than usual, if not much shorter than usual, because, no, that's how it is. It's supposed to be game of the day. So, we start with Nepomniachtchi Carlsen today, and, yeah, with Nepomniachtchi, I'm beginning to think, that something is seriously wrong with him. Just the way he acted at this tournament. I mean, playing so fast. Well, maybe it's tiredness. Maybe it's simply fatigue. Because he had a pretty busy summer playing for the Russian team, played extremely well, World Team Championship. Then he did Grand Prix tournaments, and he did rapid thing, in the Grand Chess Tour. Maybe it's just a little bit too much. Well, Nepomniachtchi is actually not used to this kind of stuff. Other top players in this tournament, they used to tough schedule more. Well, for Nepomniachtchi, since he was not part of the mix for many years, it's basically the first year when he has to keep up his schedule like this. And I think he's simply burned out from traveling and all that. I can see that he simply cannot sit and focus and concentrate on the game. His performance against Anand, not today, yesterday, was just simply on the level of a random, park bench blitz game. Just pushing pieces whatever without thinking, and then, losing. That was really not appropriate for this level of competition. And in Nepomniachtchi's case, basically, he doesn't have to be there like all the time. He barely squeaked in ahead of Anish Giri because of better rating and rapid and blitz. We shouldn't forget that this tournament uses, the series of tournaments, Grand Chess Tour, uses universal rating, their own creation, combining 3 ratings and in some way. And anyway, by on that list, Nepomniachtchi somehow got through to become a participant of this year's Grand Chess Tour. So far, did not distinguish himself at all. All right, so that means to me that he's not going to be invited anywhere next year and back to playing Russian Cup, or whatever tournaments he can scrape by. And No, well, that's how it is. I mean, you're given maybe a chance or two, If you don't deliver when it counts, then they don't have to offer you more chances. I'm afraid that Nepomniachtchi's time as far as establishing himself among world's elite is running short. Okay, let's see how he played today. Well, once again, even a one good game in the tournament, okay, we know where Magnus Carlsen could go a long way in helping him to salvage the tournament. So he goes for this line, but it's basically Magnus's decision to play this. It's a rare line that combines elements of King's Indian with the English. Well, a bit unfair toward the players who got the good Nepo versus the bad Nepo, but no, well, I mean, he's not alone, obviously. His volatility is much greater than others, but I think maybe it has something to do with the way you conduct a game against Nepomniachtchi, and maybe you make your own luck by your opening choices and by some other things. Anand is a consummate professional, and he handled this situation in his typical fashion, and that's why Vishy is where he is now in the share of the lead. So anyway, to this strange line, actually the idea of this line for black is always to take with the d pawn. Even with the king on d8, they play some kind of a strange Berlin, if you wish. The king on d8 and the double pawns, but the activity of the bishop on g7 and combining with the other bishop that comes to e6, huge pressure on the queen side. Well, if white could just move the pawn back to c3 and the knight up to c4, he would be better easily, but not with the pawn on c4. So anyway, yeah, there is this. Well, one idea is to do bishop f4 and leave the bishop on f1 to protect that pawn on c4. Well, black even sacrifices a pawn here. Well, sometimes. Although Anand and another strong player, the Russian Yevgeny Nair, they chose not to sack the pawn on c7. They played b takes c6. And black also gets some interesting play, playing d5 and taking with the knight. Anyway, this is kind of a topical line, and Nepomniachtchi's choice is not really the sharpest. So he did go for this, and he wins a pawn, but only temporary. Well, it appears to be impossible to protect the pawn. This doesn't do anything, right? Rook takes, followed by this. Okay, black probably wins. Yeah. So anyway, it goes c5, there, castles. And I really thought that this position, okay, let me look at my analysis, however, briefly, shouldn't give black any problems. But then we come into Magnus Carlsen. And I know the scrutiny obviously is there, when Magnus does not deliver. Happens with take with the b pawn. You should look up all those games, moving Dutchman. Look at the game Yakovenko Nair and Aronian Anand. Of course, there are many Aronian Anand games. Yakovenko Nair is from this year. I remember I analyzed this game. Maybe it was from the European Championship or maybe some random Russian tournament. That explains it all, what happens after b takes c6. It's a brilliant game, by the way. I have to push up a little bit, guys. Sorry, I cannot satisfy all the curiosity, including my own, when it comes to opening systems. Not during this format. Okay, anyway, so speaking of Carlsen, obviously his play comes under scrutiny, and people not only, I mean, they expect more from Magnus, right? And okay, well, they could understand some deviation from the computer perfection. Well, as long as Magnus wins, right? Well, but then they scrutinize him more when he doesn't win. come to think of that, the difference is very subtle, right? If Magnus was able to convert some of his extra pawns, which no he gets, right, by outplaying his opponents in the opening, maybe in the middle game, whatever, and then he gets to the end game. But what used to work for Magnus, which is near 100% conversion of small end game advantages, no, it's just not there anymore. Whatever reason, maybe it's some mysterious whatever. Well, or rather, what was more mysterious when he was winning those end games. Now it's just normal routine, like it happens to everyone. You obtain some advantage, but the opponent trades down to a rook endgame down opponent. Guess what? He makes a draw. Okay, that's part of life in chess. It always happens. But for Magnus it wasn't happening, and we somehow started thinking that he's a chess Harry Potter, who can somehow conjure some wins, out of positions that others draw. But we shouldn't forget, that it was always cooperation on part of his opponents. Who were these guys? Well, they were older players to begin with. There were Topalovs and Gelfans and maybe Kramniks. And Magnus was young and, he didn't even think of is it winning or not. He just wanted to play moves on the chessboard. The more the better, So that's how he was winning those end games. Now it's different. I think he looks at the position and thinks, okay, I have to deliver now. So he puts pressure on himself, and somehow, while his own play may not be affected, although about this in a moment, apparently he's not able to use his magic to make opponents go wrong. In this tournament, he had 3 promising advantages in rook endgames. Anand and Nakamura and Svidwar, they all drew him, right? Now, of course, from my point of view, he only had winning chances in one of those games against Nakamura. And, Nakamura did make a couple of mistakes in the very beginning of the endgame. Magnus had a chance to infiltrate with his king. You probably remember king run, king g5, king h6. The old Magnus would have done it for sure, 100%. Won the game, everybody will say, see, didn't I tell you? Magnus always wins those endgames. Now, when you say the wins in plural, I would only say in singular, king g5, king h6. That plan with h5, however, is supported by computers. That engine they're referring to had made mistakes before. Well, I'm not sure that h5 would have won the game. It would be a better move for sure than to play g5, but I would not say to me it's a guaranteed win. It may or may not be. Besides, Nakamura's play, as I said, could be questioned, particularly in the beginning of this rook endgame. When they got there, I know that 2-2 and the e-pawn is a draw. Black has absolutely no reason to lose this. He played passively, Nakamura did, and give Carlsen chances. But it's characteristic for new Carlsen that either the confidence is not there, probably the confidence is not there. That's why he doesn't win. Now, the reason I started talking about this, we have this position on the board. Well, I'm not saying that the old Carlsen would have won here on the black side. Probably no, because, white stands reasonably well here. But to get in trouble out of this position, to get worse, there was no reason for Carlsen to allow this. Okay, so bishop there, rook h5. This is the first move I really disliked. Why mess around with the rook? And clearly that this exchange of light square bishops should be useful for black. He also opens up this diagonal to capture on c3. In many positions it would be possible, when you get a hold of the light squares and maybe control the c4 square. So bishop g4 was on the surface. Of course, white can do anything here, and it cannot be worse, but rook a5. Now, Nepo h6, the mysterious move. Nepo, for change, plays good solid chess. Doubled his rook on the rooks on the d file. And it comes to this. I mean, look, there is something artificial about this, don't you think? Rook going over there, then it plays rook a6. Even rook b6 is not clear what it would give him. Clearly, we can see that Magnus is uncomfortable. He's just uncomfortable in this position that was relatively simple to play. And what is this h6? Okay, it's useful probably for the back rank issues, right? So you don't want to allow some kind of a bishop move away followed by mate. Anyway. Well, Nepo says, why not? Now I move forward. No sound? Okay, hang on a second. Who says no sound? Not according to what I'm seeing on my screen. Yeah, Daniel, so well, refresh. I think the signal is coming through. What I'm saying here, that finally, White gets down to business and he wants to move his e-pawn forward. And, well, in such positions when White gets to use his pawn advantage in the middle, well, that could be a game changer here. I mean, I looked at this and I thought, okay, well, that's like Magnus Carlsen. He's never gonna lose this. But then I'm thinking, like, well, wouldn't anybody else, like, lose this position? Because it just deteriorates before your very eyes. At least we give him credit for playing bishop g4. And then Nepomniachtchi. Sometimes he misses, like, very simple things because simply he cannot force himself to sit and think. Like against Anand, he missed a tactical shot that I think it was the move knight e4. Instead went to a somewhat worse rook endgame, which he duly proceeded to lose. And in this position, I mean, how many choices do you have, right? Your bishop is under attack, you can trade it on g4, or you can bring your king up, or else you can do this. Actually, not helping black to open this diagonal is the right idea. And bishop e2 is absolutely a forcing move that you're kind of looking for. You're threatening to play f3 and then win the exchange by capturing on a6. There would be no choice for Magnus but to take. And I gotta tell you, that black already crossed the line here. He's already in a difficult endgame. And, well, I don't even know how he's gonna save it. And it's so easy for white to play this. So you go forward. You double up. I mean, this rook. And for white, just push the f-pawn forward, bring your king up. What is black going to do? Take? Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. Full control of the file. I mean, you give Magnus this position, even Magnus in his current form, it's probably 1-0 for sure against anyone. I mean, one move, bishop e2, and okay, that tells me a story about both players in this tournament. Neither one is playing up to their potential. Now, Carlsen, I think he got a little frustrated with all this, but maybe he has to take a good hard look at himself. Maybe there is a reason, why he's no longer 28-80 and rather 28-25. Maybe he doesn't play as well as he did. However, as I said before, until somebody takes away World Championship title from him, well, we shouldn't pay much attention to this. Okay. Nothing really to show here. Well, this... Okay, Magnus found this move, and No, that almost equalizes. And he found a good move after rook a8, b5. Now, white, of course, controls the d6 square with the bishop and all that, but without knight on the board, he doesn't have the flexibility of his plans. And since black just moved b5 and instead of a weak pawn on b7, he now has kind of almost like a future passer. Then Jan correctly figured that he had to take. But in this position I show you one tactic here. If white wants to win this pawn, then bishop e5, and you play rook e1, counting on the pin and getting up the exchange or winning some pawns, you're not gonna get anything. There is this tactical shot and then check, and he takes the rook on e1. Either he takes and wins the rook back, or after king f1 he trades and then picks off the other rook. Either way, the game's gonna be a draw, obviously. No. So he played instead rook e1. And I gotta tell you, in this position, rook takes b5. No, Nepo is obviously frustrated and he just wants to go home. I mean, in the style of Magnus Carlsen, who did play those drawish and rook endgames against Anand and Svidwar a little bit. No, you can play rook e3. You still hope that you can take that pawn. I mean, 4 against 3 is a draw, but black needs to trade some pieces in order to get there. Either trade bishops and trade a pair of rooks. I mean, rook e3 is possible. We can play on. Jan was not in the mood. Okay, so let's go back to the game between the American players, Caruana and Nakamura. No, neither one impressed me in this tournament. Clearly, they just didn't play good chess. Caruana suffered a pretty one-sided loss against Anand, and his win over Aronian, it was a long endgame, right? He tried to win this rook bishop and pawn versus rook and 2 pawns. And in the end, he was able to do it in the rook and bishop versus rook, but basically due to Aronian's blunder, it ended so quickly. Still, question remained unanswered to me if Fabiano would be able to win the classical Philidor position, because he had it a year and a half ago against Svidwar in the candidates tournament with 9 minutes on the clock and didn't know how to win it. And a win would have much improved his situation in that candidates tournament. So even that win was really not convincing win. Fabiano is in time trouble in many games. He kind of scrambles. And no, this game too. So he starts off with d4, and Hikaru, who's past any concerns about what opening he plays, goes back to his favorite King's Indian. And now Fabiano, who's not really a regular d4 player, uses the system with h3, bishop g5, which I myself played many times. It's a positional system, similar to the Averbach, of course, but c6. Well, Nakamura, when he played King's Indian regularly, he always had a variety of surprising variations for his opponents. He didn't always follow the main theory over there in the King's Indian. So I know I played it against him. And now this move, it's an interesting move order. White, of course, can go bishop d3, but then most likely it will go to the usual stuff with knight a6, knight c5, a5, so on. So Fabiano plays knight f3, and then comes the surprising move. And he started thinking here and ended up playing this. No, there's nothing new about black's idea. They do similar things in the Grunfeld. On this, of course, there is f5. The center's collapsing and white's development. King is stuck. So reasonable move e5, but despite this 2 extra pawns, almost they seem like there are 2 extra pawns. I actually don't like white's position. It has no prospects, no future. You know, all you do, you just protect this pawn on d5, and you're missing your dark square bishop. To me, it's just a bad choice positionally. I mean, I just can't understand why white had to go for this. Play forward. Okay, I understand knight e4. It irritates you because he hits that. No, go back with the bishop. After all, black also spent time on d6 and d5. I mean, this is the kind of structure that every d4 player, should welcome, because, no, you got more space, and I know it's not obvious what to do next and so on. You have to play well. But, no, this is how you play chess. To me, this is just weak play out of the opening. So it's like, is Fabiana in such situation now that if something is played that he doesn't know, and then he simply cannot find the right way? On move 7. I don't know what attracted him to this position. So they played it, and gradually Nakamura got himself a better game. He played a real good move b5. It was nicely done. And this was also good. So after all the circling around, well, this was nice to take with the knight. Everything was played beautifully by Nakamura, and that pawn sacrifice I like. And now look at his fantastic position. Well, problem is how to win it, because even if you take both pawns, b2 and d4, maybe you could, but at the cost of trading your bishops, then you don't win, of course, 4 against 3. You can do a Carlsen just for some kind of self-gratification, go to a better endgame and play it for 3 hours. Then you'd have to agree to a draw anyway. But Hikaru wanted more. He actually played well. This bishop h6 I liked. And hang on a second, let me get to important part of my analysis here. 1 second. I'm afraid I may have lost it. No, I did not. Okay. To move 36. Okay, I'm skipping this whole thing. There's a lot of maneuvering here, but clearly white is on his back foot. I mean, he did it to himself on move 8. 20 moves later, he's yet to play one active move in this game. But I mean, I actually give credit to Caruana for not panicking, and even though he did spend some time here, well, his moves were all quite good. At no moment Nakamura had a clear way of improving his position. Maybe he was waiting for a chance to move the g-pawn forward, but no, it never seemed a very appropriate thing to do, because it would weaken black's position as well. So some maneuvering continued, and I got to this point. Oh, bishop f4, right? No, it's the most natural of moves to cover e5. Obviously here, in time trouble, Fabiano was threatening to give this check and win the rook or whatever, checkmate. Surprisingly, the right move would be to play just rook d7. It's a pretty cool move. You don't care queen e5 check, right? You got f6, attacking the queen. Now this knight will be hanging then, and there are some possibilities for black, like to take on d2, force this capture, and then take on g2, and start his attack. Winning the g2 pawn, for that, I'm willing to give up my bishop. After rook d7, black is better here. For example, I rooked at rook c8, now this to clear out h6, and take away e5. Inclusion of these two moves, rook d7 and rook c8, actually improves black's situation, because if Fabiano had to play this again, he would not have any counterplay against the black king. And his rooks appear to be useless on e8, Frank. In the meantime, black is probably thinking of going, I don't know, maybe on bishop h1, or take the pawn on d4. There are a lot of things black can do here. The white king, in this line, the white king is much, much weaker. Black will get to take this pawn on f4 with big advantage. I mean, possibly Nakamura would have won the game if he played the right move, rook d7. Of course, a lot would depend on responses, because both players were low on time. Was Wesley so wearing sunglasses? I don't know. I don't watch this stuff. I watched it a couple of days ago. I honestly... I mean, this official channel broadcast, you know, I mean, okay, fine, I understand, you know, they don't do this with me in mind. I personally find this irritating. Well, I want to look at chess without distractions. I don't want some random interviews. I don't want the rah-rah, you know, this kind of, I don't know, well, I don't know, I just want to look at chess positions without being bothered, you know. I'm much happier here on the Internet Chess Club. I'm interested in the chess, you know, and then not in other things. Well, I'm not a pro-chess journalist, right? So, I mean, I don't really have to do what these guys are doing. And there will be no, what a great move, when everybody knows it's a computer-suggested line, you know. So, I mean, it's pretty sad to me to see, no, at least former chess players, you know, some of whom I played over the board, to be reduced to, I mean, following a script. Like the computer writes the script, and everything is scripted, you know. So, no, well, that's, to me, it's, well, what we're having over there at their official website became more of a fake drama, you know, of scripted so-called reality TV. And I have no use for that. I don't watch television, and this is the reason why I don't want to watch that. So I don't know if Wesley was wearing his sunglasses or not. One thing I noticed about Wesley, you know, so he looks different. He put on a lot of weight, and I don't think that's helping his chess. He's still a very young man. Well, I mean, it's different, right? Growing up in the Philippines and now ends up, you know, here in the upper Midwest where I am, you know, like this. It's a different lifestyle, you know. The winters are long, you know, you're probably cooped in, and I don't know, he has to put some effort of keeping himself in physical shape. Sunglasses, yeah, that's a Jabava kind of thing, you know, no. Anyway, after this came g3, and now it came to this line. Now the tables are about to turn. Once again, the right move would be rook d7. Now, of course, white will do anything but the silly move, rook c to c8, because he knows it has no threat. The king would come to h6. But nonetheless, no, black's totally fine here. Look at white's pawns. He has collection of cripples here. Some kind of a mashy unit, you know, look at the pawns. But Hikaru, who's obviously in bad form for this tournament, and I don't know, I speculated about this. I think Hikaru is really not focusing on this tournament. He has two things that he wants to do, right. First of all, the Rapid and Blitz tournament, which will start 2 days after, whatever, I think it starts Monday. So the Rapid and Blitz thing, well, that, he has big chances of winning it. In absence of Magnus Carlsen and Maxim Ashkev-Agraf, who already used up their quota of Rapid and Blitz tournaments, Hikaru, to me, is hands down favorite. And there is Kasparov there, so that's going to be interesting. Hikaru wants to do his best. Now, so that's number one. And number two, we shouldn't forget about the World Cup. Everybody now, among the people who still harbor some qualification hopes for the candidates, everything they do today is with the World Cup knockout tournament in mind. That's where the two spots are there. Now, this is gonna be the strongest World Cup ever, even with Magnus Carlsen playing. Of the top players, I don't know who's even missing, Is Anand on the list? Anand, I don't know, I think Anand also on the list. I think there is just simply everybody in this World Cup. And Magnus Carlsen he puts his money where his mouth is, right? He said 2 years ago that he was watching that same tournament in Baku, ultimately won by Karyakin, and he said he was fascinated and he wished he was there, and now 2 years later he is playing. So, with that in mind, I think, Nakamura is just... It just wasn't really focusing on this tournament. Anyway, what happened was this. Bishop e4, it's a huge mistake. After that, maybe he was hoping to make a draw in the rook endgame after queen e4 because of those broken pawns. He probably would have made a draw quite easily. But now, Fabiano attacks. And when he attacks like this, difficult to defend. Okay, I'm getting to it. d5 check. There. I don't know what really happened here. Well, obviously he saw the threat, but there was a simple defense against it. I mean, jokes aside, that's 2 pawns up. And that was all after the time control. If it's this, then you play queen e3. Okay, here, don't go to rook endgames. Rook endgames are notoriously difficult to win, particularly with broken pawns, and his rook will get behind the b-pawn. No way. Go for the queen endgame. Now, this is serious winning chances. In queen endgames, if there is no clear pattern of perpetual check, then the pawn will just go, and go. Sometimes white would use some moves, some checks, attacks, and something to prepare, to help the pawn move forward. But it can move and queen without help of the king. White has great winning chances in this position. I personally don't understand what happened here at all. Why would Fabiano, who's still at 50%, just play this move? Is this blitz? It's move 42. It's move 42, people. He had all the time in the world to look at rook takes e4 and allow this. Don't tell me he missed rook h1. Nobody can miss rook h1. I mean, anyway, these guys, both of them, Hikaru and Fabiano, they didn't really have a very successful year. Fabiano is still there, with his rating and now number 3 in the world, and he's probably gonna make it into the candidates. Wesley now has created some kind of a question mark for himself by losing today to Karyakin, but they have to combine all the ratings for this year, and I don't really know what's gonna happen. Caruana said he just missed rook h1. So what did he expect? Resignation? I don't quite get it. He plays d5. It's not like black has to get mated. Black in this position, if he doesn't want to get mated by rook g8, should play rook f6. And then, okay, well, he still has the same counterplay, but he doesn't get mated, right? His opponent, which he knows very well, they played each other already 70 times, instead plays king h6. What is it? Did he miss rook g8? I mean, I don't know if I should buy in those explanations. If that's really true, that means that these guys are so tired of playing chess non-stop, one Grand Chess Tour after another, one tournament here and there. They simply don't see things on the board anymore. I mean, to miss rook h1. So he expects, a round of applause for his great attack, which consisted of 2 moves, d5 check and rook g8. I mean, I don't know. Words fail me. Anyway, I don't have time to go over the Karyakin So game. Well, Wesley played quite poorly. So anyway, 1 year, almost to the date from the triumph of American chess at the Chess Olympiad, 2016, and now we have a lot of questions there. Our best players, our top three, are simply not playing up to their potential. Now, to me, explanation is only one explanation. It's the tough grind, scheduling tournaments one after another. And I understand the pressure, I understand the expectations, but, well, if you want to improve in chess, you have to choose your own path. I strongly suggest to all three of the American players to consider making some cuts, some sacrifices, and preparing more and resting more and taking care of your physical condition more, rather than just chasing the buck, like from one tournament to another. You'll come to regret it, that missed opportunity. Well, with that, I would like to bid all of you goodbye, and well, let's watch the last round and then the Rapid and Blitz with Garry Kasparov. Until next time. I'm taking some chess vacation, so I'm not sure exactly. Maybe I won't see you guys until after Labor Day. But anyway, check the schedule. Bye, guys.